welcome to another episode of Ask an Assistant, the podcast for executive assistants and the people that love us. I'm your host, Jess Lindgren. Let's get to work. Today's question comes from esteemed colleague Sarah, who writes in to ask, "Hello, Jess. When you have an important but annoying project to complete, how do you get yourself in the right mood to get it done?" Sarah, thank you so much for reaching out to ask. Anyone listening, I would love to hear from you. askanassistant.com. Getting right into things, this starts off kind of vague. I can work with a little bit of vagueness. I love a little bit of vague. There's a couple directions to take this. There's both getting myself into the right headspace and motivating myself, especially when it's something that I'm not super jazzed about. We all have these projects. We all have these tasks, whatever they might be, no matter how big, how small. If it's something on a recurring schedule, if it's something that you just do once a week, once a month, once a quarter, once a year, if it's just ad hoc stuff, we all know these annoying but critical projects. So definitely getting yourself into the right headspace can be important. And depending on the frequency and direness of the project, giving yourself some motivation can be really important too. Starting off with the headspace half of things, there are several things that I like to do to get myself into the right headspace for an annoying, just getting it done, getting in, doing this annoying project, whatever it might be. Your environment is super important. My husband and I like to call it the big dumb house. I love my big dumb house. This is said with the most amount of love possible. But we bought our house sight unseen. We had been living in California. We moved to upstate New York. We bought the house in the depths of the pandemic. We did not fly to see this house in person. We literally bought it without setting foot into it. Big risk on our part that definitely paid off. However, it is a 6-bedroom house with approximately, depending on which architectural rendering you are going by, is somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. It's a lot of house for 2 people. We are fortunate enough to maintain a couple of guest rooms, and for instance, where I'm at right now is not a guest room, but it does share a wall with one of our guest rooms. It is my podcast closet. The closet is big enough to accommodate a desk, a little bit of storage. Looking above me, we have a big bunch of board games on the shelf above me that we really need to go through and rotate through to get some playtime. But anyway, big dumb house that I love. Actually, I have been lately getting into the habit of calling it the fun house, because people ask, hey, where do you live? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're over on this street. We're the fun house. And people know exactly what I'm talking about. So starting today, no longer big dumb house. It's the fun house. So at our fun house, lots and lots of space. It is 4 levels, basement, main level, upstairs level, attic. The attic is a fully functional space. It has cathedral ceilings. It's a tall, very functional. All of our TVs and video games are up there. We also have a kitty who lives in the attic. Lots of different options for different spaces to work in. So picking the right environment, depending on what the project is, can be very important. In fact, is very important, but I didn't want to say is twice in a row. But I was actually talking with my board of directors at our last Ask an Assistant board meeting, and they said to me, Jess, you're always somewhere different every time we meet. And that's so true, because I can work from the dining table in our front dining room, lots of beautiful natural light with huge windows, lots of fun artwork and toys in the dining room. I can work in the sitting room, which has 4 houndstooth chairs in it. Also a lot of natural light. The kitties come and go. I can work from my bedroom, which I honestly do quite a bit because we don't have a couch on the main level anymore. And that's something that I've actually been working really hard to stop doing. It's a cozy place that the cats can also hang out in, and we don't allow the cats into either of our guest rooms because we do have a lot of guests that are allergic to cats. So maintaining a cat-free zone for them, especially our nieces and nephews, is really important. So I do spend more time working in our room than I wish I did. And again, that's something I'm really working to break the habit of. We do have couches in the attic, but we don't have great lighting up there. So it's not always super inviting for me to want to work up there, especially as the days start to get shorter. It's hard to find the motivation to be up there. My husband's office is in the attic, and he has the one front facing south exposure, gets all the sunlight room. So, he needs that because he works up there 5 days a week. 7 to 8 hours a day, takes lots of meetings. He needs that room. So like, I can't be like, hey, get out of the office room. I need it today. But yeah, there are a lot of options. So just picking the right one based on, do I need to be comfy? Do I need to be serious? Do I need to be sitting upright in a good chair with lots of natural light? Do I need to be somewhere cozy? Again, we've all had these projects with varying levels of annoyance attached to them, and you just kind of pick and choose based on what that annoyance is to choose the right furniture and the right room. Also going along with the environment that you choose, since we do have a couple of cat-free zones, it is easy for me to pick one. One of our guest rooms has a fully fleshed out, fully kitted out, if you will, desk. It's something that when I travel, I, for whatever reason, always end up needing a pen, a Sharpie, a scissor, any number of office tools. It's just got a nice little workspace. So that way, whatever it is that someone might be up to, they can just sit and work at that desk. Our printer is also in there. And then in one of the drawers, I have my small label printers. So that's definitely a place, especially if I need to print something. I will lock myself into the grown-up guest room and just camp out at the desk for a couple hours, get my printing done, get some quiet work time done until the cats come scratch at the door and decide that I am done having quiet work time. The kids' room, we have bunk beds in there. That's where our nephews tend to stay. I also have a low to the floor, it's more like a coffee table than an actual desk, but I have like a yoga bolster that goes along with that table. My typewriter is at that desk. I have a lot of my stationery supplies. So yeah, just kind of talking through this, I do actually have several different kinds of spaces, like the low to the ground desk, the high podcast recording desk, the printer desk in the guest room, lots of different places to pick and choose from. So just picking the one that hits all the right notes for whatever the task might be is really important. And I don't have kids. My husband and I are professional auntie and uncle, but we do have cats. We have 3 cats. 2 live in the main portion of the house. They have access to the basement, main level, and upstairs, the bedroom level, if you will. And then we do have 1 cat who is the king of the castle. He lives in his penthouse suite in the attic. The attic is around, again, it's somewhere between 750 to 1,000 square feet, so he is not hurting for space. He's got 2 rooms up there. One is my husband's office. One is our movement room. So we've got free weights and a yoga mat and an elliptical up there, comfy furniture in the way up the couches. Lots of different spaces for the cats to live, but also when you need some cat-free time, it is really nice to have those guest rooms where you can just pick the room, shut the door, zone out, get yourself as far away from the door as possible, to just kind of ignore the cats as they whine at the door. The pandemic kind of broke our cats in terms of separation anxiety. I don't know if anybody else is dealing with that with their pets, with their cats, dogs, birds, lizards, whoever it is that you might have around the house. But yeah, our cats definitely are a lot more needy post 2020 than they ever were before. They used to be a lot more self-sufficient. So having those spaces that I can retreat to inside the house is really great. Getting outside of the house, we have a neighborhood library. We also have a very robust chain of libraries in our city. So that's always an option. Wi-Fi isn't always great, but fortunately, I'm doing pretty low. I'm not sitting and like streaming 4K video and doing huge podcast interviews and video production. My internet needs are pretty low. But even still, sometimes at the library, like the Wi-Fi is not pristine. So just if it's something, especially something I can do offline, that's something I might bring to the library. There's also a neighborhood coffee shop. You gotta love that. Sometimes you just need other humans around. I haven't explored anything locally in terms of co-working spaces just yet, mostly because we do have such a big house. We just have so much space. It doesn't really make sense just yet to have a fully separate space for work. It's something I'd like to explore down the line, especially if I do lean into some creative pursuits. There are some really cool, like artisty spaces here in town that I would really love to like move my typewriter and stationery supplies and all that stuff too. So we'll see. That's definitely a future goal, something for down the line, not for today, but just the local library, the coffee shop, and the fun house. Lots of different options to pick the right space and find the right headspace. Leaning into the environment, music is really important. If it's something where I just need to sit down and like crank it out, like you really have, those projects that I'm talking about where you just really have to feel motivated and like bouncy and ready, and like the energy is just like cooped up inside you and needs to be let out. There's a couple of albums that I really love. One is Alive by Daft Punk. Let me just grab the details on that actually. Alive, Daft Punk. It is from 2007. You can actually find the live concert on YouTube, which is amazing. But that album, there's just something about it, like from the very first notes, like you hit play and the energy is infectious. It just gets into your body in this way that I cannot explain. So if you ever are looking for just that musical motivation, try out Daft Punk's Alive 2007 and let me know what you think. Because that is just, I put it on and the whole world around me just disappears. It's really fantastic. Kind of in a similar vein, like I'm sure that this artist is definitely very much influenced by Daft Punk, but does their own thing. Girl Talk, the album All Day, is really great. I just picked up a vinyl copy of it, actually. They have a mailing list for if you ever wanted your own copy. And it's really beautiful, and it really does something, like the energy just builds on All Day by Girl Talk. And it's just something that you know all the words to just from like being part of the world for the last however many years you've been around. And it's just another one of those, just puts you in the right mood. If it's something where I really need to like be chill and focus, like I don't need a ton of energy. I really love harpsichord music of all things. Spotify is really great. I also have a really fantastic playlist of like long yoga songs, things that are 10 minutes plus. That's really nice. I also love, there's an album by Moby. It's called Long Ambience, and it's just available for free. You can find it in lots of different places. I think it's on Spotify, but I know it's just like available on the internet. And it's another one of those that's just super long, super chill, really nice background music. And then, of course, there's always the lo-fi beats. What is it called? Lo-fi hip hop radio, beats to relax / study to. It's a YouTube stream that you can just put on, no commercials, and you can just chill to it. It's really great. So just getting the right music can really do a lot for your headspace as well. Um, on the other side of the coin, if you are looking for motivation uh, to get stuff done, um, I'm somebody who's been working remotely since 2014. The cats absolutely do not hold me to any kind of deadlines ever unless it involves their dinner. And even then, I'm just the one who, like in the mornings, they know that I'm more reliably able to be woken up. So I'm the one who they come wake up, and then I poke my husband until he gets up and goes to feed them. Or same thing, like he works in the attic, I work in the main part of the house. Um, when they are hungry, it is on me to, hey, the cat has stepped on my keyboard for the 15th time in the last hour. I think it's time for you to come down and give them dinner. So I'm more of a message. I'm like a human intercom for the cats, essentially. But that's like the only deadline that the cats hold me to. So I love having an accountability partner, whether it's my husband, whether it's my executive, whether it's a friend. But I always reach out to somebody and say, hey, look, I have this project, not divulging any details, but it's due by XYZ date. I have to do it by the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the month, whatever. Here's my goal of completing this project. And here is what I am bribing myself with, essentially. Like I remember this was like 2013, I think. And so the last job that I had, the last executive I supported before working with my current executive. And I just had like a huge end of year project dumped on my plate like mid-November. And so I had 6 weeks to untangle this huge mess. And like, trust me, I needed every working hour of those 6 weeks to make this happen before the end of the year so I could actually like be out of town. And of course, Thanksgiving falls during that window. There's a lot of time that people are out due to holidays in December, and like nobody wants to work in December. Everybody's just focused on getting through the end of the year, especially if you live somewhere cold like I do, upstate New York presently. At the time I was living in Minneapolis, Minnesota, like no one wants to work in late November and throughout pretty much all of December. I remember this huge project, huge mess that needed to be untangled, and just it got dropped on my desk. And so I told my husband, I was like, look, huge project. I'm like heads down on all this stuff for the next several weeks. But when all is said and done, here is what I'm buying myself. And I cannot buy it for myself until the project is complete. It was this really beautiful mustard yellow Steve Madden coat. I still have the coat 10 plus years later. Like, I just love this coat. It was a bit of a frivolous purchase because I already had the same coat in a cream color and a green color, like a really beautiful emeraldy foresty green, and then kind of a creamy, it has a big beautiful hood, and it's kind of a cinch around your waist kind of coat. So it kind of flares out. It's like a fit and flare coat with a big beautiful hood. So the cream one kind of makes you look like Princess Leia. And then the green one, I'm a redhead. I have green eyes. I look amazing in green. But this yellow one, for whatever reason, was just really speaking to me. I also have a really beautiful pair of citrine earrings that my husband has bought me in the past. And the yellow I wear a lot of black and white for basics. So other things like coats, jewelry are kind of accent colors. So like it's really easy to build an outfit. The yellow just really spoke to me. And so, yeah, that was my goal, was just like as soon as the project is complete and not a moment before, I will buy myself that beautiful coat. And I did end up doing it maybe even a day or two early, but it was like right down to the wire. And I do remember ordering that coat and just being so thrilled when it came in. And again, I still have it 10, 11 years later, and it still fits, which is amazing. So like pick something to motivate yourself with. Like it can be something, again, we've all got these annoying projects that are a daily thing, a weekly thing, a monthly thing, a quarterly thing, an annual thing, whatever the frequency is. whatever it is that you need to be motivating yourself with. Like it could be as small as you're going to buy yourself some new pens. You're going to buy yourself that fancy coffee, even though you've been making your own coffee at home for the last few months. You're going to splurge and you're going to get the local new coffee shop that just opened, or you're just going to cave and buy the Starbucks or whatever it is. Like, I'm not here to yuck your yum. I'm here to say, like, pick that thing, that motivating thing, whatever it is, and go for it. Sometimes you can't even get lucky and have your company or your executive sponsor your treats. Something like new Post-it notes, new pens, new office supplies. Those are a very easy, hey, executive, hey, whoever does the purchasing, I really need some new office supplies. It's even something that in the past, my executive has definitely sponsored some of my treats. I'm a big we've had a couple of big events, and we have a couple more big events coming up in 2025 and beyond. And at the conclusion of each of those events, I'm just like, okay, I just worked like several 20-hour days in a row. You're sponsoring my massages, right? Like you're taking care of whatever it is that I need for the next couple days, whether it's like a steak dinner or like a beautiful vegan meal. And I do fully appreciate that those are opposite ends of the spectrum. I am so allergic to dairy that like looking at it is enough to make me break out. And but that doesn't mean that I don't still love the occasional quarterly steak as a treat. So just, get something little, get something big. I know that it is absolutely a privilege to be able to treat myself. It's something that I work hard for. It's something that I've been very fortunate to have a very generous relationship with my executive for the past 10 years. I'm paid very well. I am appreciated in my work. I definitely have a budget when I need those new pens, when I need the occasional, hey, we worked really hard on this thing. Can I take myself out to lunch? Hey, we worked really hard on this thing. What is it? Or like, my executive is he's very generous with those things. And it is a huge privilege to be treated very well at work. It's a huge privilege to be a dual income, no kids household in a very low cost of living area. So it is nice to be able to treat myself. And it's also nice to take some of that money and treat myself by supporting local businesses. Like we have a really great local coffee shop that's in our neighborhood. We have a really fantastic vegan bakery. If you are ever looking for vegan treats in the upstate New York area, Fat Cat Baking. I absolutely all day long will shout them out. You will see a link to them in the show notes. I will do my best to grab everything else that I talked about. I talked about a couple of albums. I talked about the lo-fi beats, talking about Fat Cat Baking. Like Megan and her team are the best. Her stuff is so tasty. I've been saying for years, and it just keeps getting better. Like I've been saying for years, if you have to have a dietary restriction, which many of us do, whether it's a preference or like a true allergy, intolerance, whatever it might be, if you have to have some kind of restriction in what you can and can't eat, now is the best time for that to be the case. Like there's just so many people like me that grew up. I mean, like me in terms of like not being able to eat stuff, not that I'm some prolific food entrepreneur. But there are people who grew up having dietary restrictions in whatever way, shape, or form, who are tired of going to events and only being able to eat carrots and celery, not even the dip. Like, people who go out of their way to, hey, I grew up with XYZ restriction or intolerance, and I want people to be able to eat better and eat more fun foods. But that's neither here nor there. Not a food podcast, not a food entrepreneur podcast, but more just like huge privilege to be able to motivate myself with some treats every now and then, whatever it might be, and taking that money and investing it locally, getting the local coffee over the Starbucks, getting the local vegan treats from Fat Cat. There's also a restaurant in the area called Strong Hearts. I love Strong Hearts all day long. It is the best. Like it is so incredible to be able to go and drink a vegan milkshake. It's amazing. And everything. Like, I know that I can walk into the restaurant and not worry that there's going to be some secret, you know, I go through everything with the person at the counter and say, okay, there's no milk in this, right? And they say no. And then it turns out that it was cooked in butter, or it has a scoop of yogurt in it, or whatever. Like, I just know that everything at Strong Hearts is safe for me to eat. I love that it's a small, locally owned business. A lot of these businesses are minority run businesses. Whatever that might mean. And it's just so important to support all of those small endeavors and keep them in business. Like, we were just so fortunate to have lived in Southern California for 3 years. There's vegan treats on every corner. Like, you throw a rock and you're going to hit something vegan. Here in upstate New York, it's a little harder to come by. So we definitely go out of our way to motivate ourselves with a treat. Hey, we've been working hard lately. Let's go to Strong Hearts. Hey, we, excuse me, we just completed a huge house project. Let's go order some stuff from Fat Cat. Fat Cat's doing a pop-up tonight. Let's make sure we go. Mojo. Oh my God, Mojo. Local dude, Mojo, makes the most incredible vegan food. We always go out of our way. It's like, okay, if we get XYZ done this week, or like my husband is a software developer. He has like huge complicated launch cycles at work. After a long week where like there was a huge launch and he's working extra hours, he's been stressed out for weeks. Hey, Mojo's having a pop-up this weekend. Let's make sure we go. So couple different ways. Let's get back to it here. Getting stuff done, whether it's getting yourself in the right headspace, whether it's motivating yourself with a treat or an experience or whatever it is that you need to do. Seek out the environment that you need, whether it's at home, whether it's an external place to hang out. Make sure it's got good Wi-Fi. Make sure you get yourself, stay hydrated, stay fed. You can't focus and perform at work if you are running on empty. I really hope that all that was helpful. That wraps up the episode. So if you found the episode helpful, I would really love to hear from you. A review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify would mean a whole heck of a lot to me. Someone recently gave the podcast a fresh review, and I so appreciate it. I've been feeling good. I've got my Ask an Assistant Board of Directors, my A3 BOD, if you will, and getting some really great feedback, some great creative input, which I really appreciate. Charlene, I cannot do this without you. And until then, hopefully we'll hear from you hopefully I will hear from you at askanassistant.com. I would love for you to ask your question, whatever it might be. No problem too big or too small to be untangled. The only stupid question is the one that you don't ask. So until next week's episode, take care.